I never know how to start these. Okay. Hey, what is up? So I'm now 6 weeks post-op double incision top surgery. I guess technically 6 weeks and like 3 days. But 2 days ago I had my final checkup with my surgeon. Because of COVID, at my 3 weeks I had like a telehealth call, and then on my 6 weeks I actually went in person. So he could take a look at everything. I ended up developing like just on my left side, which was weird, and the surgeon and the PA both said that that was interesting as well. I had like a bit of a bad reaction to the stitches, but only on the left side of my body. So there were 2 spots, one more prominent than the other, where like some fluid collected, which is fairly normal from what I've seen online with this sort of surgery. But even wearing my compression shirts and stuff for the whole 6 weeks, I still had this fluid collect, and then it started to leak, and I kept an eye on it to make sure it didn't get infected or anything. I was just putting gauze on it, which I guess was the right thing to do, so that way it could collect the fluid without, you know, ruining my shirts and stuff. But I thought it was weird, and there was like a bit of stitch like poking out, but it hadn't fallen out, etc., etc. So when I went in person, the doctor looked at it and he took a pair of tweezers, pulled out the bit of stitch that had been bothering me, and was basically like, yeah, just keep like some gauze or a Band-Aid or something on it until that fully closes, but otherwise you're all set, everything looks good. He told me to keep massaging my chest, like the whole area of surgery. I'm sorry. He told me to keep massaging my chest, which the whole surgery area, it was from like my collarbones down to like here on me, like this whole area, and then over and over. Which I hadn't been doing. I thought that I was just supposed to massage my actual scars, like the incision points, but he told me that no, like I have to massage my whole chest. So just putting that out there. Obviously do what your surgeon tells you, but it wasn't clear to me that that was what I was supposed to be doing, so I've started to do that the past couple of days. And I'm gonna get shirtless just so you can see. I've been using this scar strip here on this incision, because this side was totally fine, but you can see over here it's like a little bit more red. I can't put the scar tape on here because I still have these 2 spots that are kind of closing up. This one down here, a little bit of, it almost looked like a blood blister sort of developed, and like about a day after that happened, it popped on its own. So again, I just let it drain, put some gauze on it, and it's actually healing up a lot faster than the one near my armpit. So I'll let you see again. But basically down here, I have like this little opening, and like he pulled out the stitch from this side, and it was like a pretty decent amount of stitch. Maybe that's a little bit too much, like that much, that came out with it, and it was just really irritating my skin, I think, so it wasn't able to heal up. So I'm hoping that now that the stitch isn't there, it'll just finish closing. The deep tissue has all healed. It's really just like a surface wound, but I'm just kind of putting that out there if anyone else has a similar experience. Had that happened, it was something that I wasn't anticipating. It kind of freaked me out and played with my head mentally, because I was really, really concerned that it was going to be like, I knew it wasn't a huge problem, just in the sense that it wasn't infected, it wasn't getting worse. Like once it started happening, it started to get better, but it's just been a slow process, and at this point I really just wanted to be like totally fine, and like if everything was perfect it would look exactly like my right side, which is looking great. So it was like annoying, but if it does happen to you, like just make sure it doesn't get infected, and it's not the end of the world. If you're super concerned about it, like call your doctor and see what they have to say about it. They'll probably just have you come in so they can take a look at it. Thankfully, I wasn't in a situation where it was so swollen and not draining itself that I needed to go in to get it drained, but that does happen. I'm definitely getting some nipple sensation back. My left nipple, even though my left incision is doing worse, my left nipple is doing better. I definitely have a lot more sensation there in terms of like if I brush over it, I can kind of feel that on, not my finger head, but like on the actual nipple, like I can kind of feel it. My right side is a little bit slower. My nipple's also a little bit more flat on my right side. Like the part that would pop out normally is just not as prominent as the one on my left. I don't know if that'll eventually catch up or if it's just gonna be that way. If that's the case, so be it. I don't really mind. This, as of tomorrow, I will have been out of work for 7 weeks, which is intense. I will say, thankfully in Massachusetts, they just put out a new act, the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, which as of January 1st, 2021, allows for people to apply for a paid medical leave. So in my case, because I was having the surgery and because I work at a grocery store where a lot of my job requires me to be using my upper body and picking up boxes and reaching up high, etc., I was told not to work for the duration of my recovery period. I had my doctor sign the note. It was kind of a hassle, like just in the sense of like getting the paperwork signed and like the office takes a while. So if you're in Massachusetts and are eligible for it, I would highly recommend just looking into that. There's like an online application and your surgeon just needs to fill out a piece of paper and then you upload a PDF. And it took a week for mine to get processed and accepted. And then from then on, you get like a portion of your normal paycheck. I think mine was 80% of what I would normally make in a week, paid to you, direct deposit if you set up your bank account with it every week. Now for me and my experience, I was out for 7 weeks of work, right? Because I'll go back on Monday. My last day of work was a few days before my surgery. My paid leave started a week after my surgery. So for that 1 week, I didn't get any money because of the paperwork processing time. So technically I only got 5 weeks compensation as opposed to 6 weeks compensation. But at the end of the day, like, it was much better than nothing, which is what I was expecting to have to do. So I would say the earlier you can get that paperwork in, the better, and you'll probably have a good chance of getting all your weeks compensated. I ended up getting, so once the actual process goes through, then you have to wait an additional 2 weeks for it to kick in. And then after that, for like the initial 2 week waiting period, there's another week where you wait for your first paycheck. So it takes a really long time, but eventually you will get the money, and they do back pay. At least they did in my case. So it took 4 weeks from me applying to receive my first check. My first check was 2 weeks worth, and then the following week I got another 2 weeks worth, and then this last week I got 1 week worth. So in total it was 5 weeks of compensation. Obviously this is just a Massachusetts thing, so if you don't live in Massachusetts, I would suggest you look into other options. Maybe if you live, especially in a blue state, they might have some form of medical leave available to you, and obviously it's highly dependent on your job. Yeah, if anyone has any other questions or wants to see me talk about specific parts of my healing process, just feel free to leave a comment down below and I will get back to it, or I'll just save them and make another video like as a little follow-up to this. Otherwise, have a good day.